about Old Colony Planning Council's online economic development tools recently developed by our agency. I'm Nick Giaquinto, OCPC Senior Economic Development Planner, and I'm happy to fill you in on what there is to know about the tools that are available on our website. This will be a short presentation to inform our communities, our stakeholders, and any other visitors to the OCPC website about two innovative tools we've developed to provide municipalities and other partners in the region with up-to-date, usable economic development and recovery-related data and analyses. So these resources are very easy to find on our website. You'll simply want to go to the OCPC homepage and then scroll down just a tad. Let me pop it up. There we go. You scroll down, you'll see this orange bar. If you click that, it will take you directly to both tools to be able to use. Or if you'd like to use your mobile device for this, feel free to use the QR code available on your screen. However, there is a small impact on how the content is displayed and formatted. So if you choose to use that, that will work. But thanks again for joining us, and I guess we'll get started.
So as the executive director, this is probably one of the most exciting things that I've seen this organization has done. As a former economic development director for the city of Brockton, I remembered when Barry Bluestone in Northeastern University had established the self-assessment test, economic development self-assessment test, and was helpful to guide and know where our positives are and where some of our negatives. Now in the role of executive director, with 17 communities that we oversee and that we work with, we see this again, as Nick has indicated, as another tool, couple tools for each of our organizations and and anyone. So it's exciting, but I'm going to have the rest of the welcome be provided by Becky Coletta, who is our president of the council. So Becky.
Thanks, Mary. We're happy to have people learn more about our economic development tools. Since we've brought on Don Sullivan and Nick Giaquinto, we've been able to do a lot more work on economic development for our region and for our member communities. This tool sort of brings it to another level because economic development requires us to be somewhat planful about how it's done in each community. And this gives communities the tools to work with OCPC to get what they want out of economic development. This isn't about something, that's happening beyond our control. These are tools to let us have some impact and bring economic development to our region so that we can continue to thrive and grow in a way that is healthy for our communities. So I'm so happy. One of the things that this group has done is brought some real money to the region for people to do economic development projects and for the region as a whole to look at things like water and how we have sustainable water for the future development of our region. So it's been really good working with John and Nick, and I'm excited to see this tool rolled out and to hear more from these guys about how to use it. Thank you.
Thanks, President Coletta. So what is this all about? So last year, the EDA awarded OCPC funds to essentially develop two tools that would equip communities in our district with access to real-time data and individual assessments of their local capacity for economic development. And in that effort, we were able to create a data dashboard designed to help communities reference any important data and statistics and a municipal assessment tool to help them identify areas for improvement and diversification. The data dashboard, which we refer to as the community data portal, will essentially provide information to support successful funding applications and offer any insights into the local and regional economic outlook. The municipal assessment tool, which we refer to as REDAT for Regional Economic Development Assessment Tool, will assess how business-friendly and investment-ready municipalities are, helping them identify opportunities to leverage regional assets for economic growth and resiliency. But together, These tools will enhance strategic planning and support sustainable development across the region. So the main objective, so the community data portal aims to really centralize crucial information into a single, easily accessible and navigable platform for communities to have. And by consolidating data, the portal really saves valuable time by eliminating the need for communities to chase down and track down and extract the information from these various raw sources that communities are used to using. And with the hope is with our community data portal is to provide data that is transformative, that's accurate, timely, and relevant in a way that's supportive for communities in whatever planning initiatives they have underway, and helping them make those informed decisions to drive progress in development throughout the year. So I'll just pop this up on our screen for a moment so I can sort of show you what this looks like. Here we go. So here it is here. You have an option to sort of look at a comparison of data region-wide. So this is, you can look at things like poverty rate, tax rates, and household, median household income per capita, and any other categories, transportation, demographics, housing, economy, you can look at from a regional scale. So if you want to look and find out more specifics about the region as a whole, you're able to do that by making sure this is clicked over here. If you want to find out more about any specific community, for Brockton here, all that data will populate itself when you've selected one of the communities on the list. So, oh yeah, we'll try Pembroke for a second. Here we go. So this will give you some of the demographics. These are just some of the things that you have available to look at. Some of the information that commonly requested or asked for in applications. I think when communities are applying to programs, a lot of the same questions and requests for data comes up all the time. So part of the idea is to have this information readily available for folks so they can reference quickly and use our website as sort of a resource hub to find this information. And the idea is that I think we'll have this, and we're going to be doing our best to make sure that this information is updated and maintained. But rather than going through the trouble and spending lots of hours on the census data, we're hoping that this resource can be helpful and convenient for folks who want to hop on our website and easily find this information at their fingertips.
I just wanted to add that it's still being beta tested, so there are things that'll pop up that we'll need to revise, but we're continually looking at the information and update it as an as needed basis.
So if I can just go ahead, please.
So how often will this be updated? Are we using like the census surveys, or how often do you plan to update the data?
It's the ACS data that basically drove much of the data dashboard component of it. So we'll look at it on an annual basis, I think, not so much as a routine kind of review, but on an annual basis for sure.
And maybe if I can just do just a quick little stop in here, the other panelists we have on that, I don't think we had a chance to acknowledge their presence, is that from the town of Plymouth, we have Lee Hartman, who is the delegate to Old Colony Planning Council, and then Stephen Cole, who's the executive director of the Plymouth Foundation. In addition, as you know, besides Becky Coletta, we have Alicia Siciliano, who is our alternate from the town of Pembroke. And then we have the at-large delegate, and that's Yolanda Spinola. Yolanda is a Brockton resident, but he is an at-large for the Old Colony Planning Council. So thank you all for being part of this webinar today, and please continue to have any other questions that you may have as we go forward.
Any other questions on the data dashboard for the moment?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. I got to play around with it a bit, and thank you so much for putting it together. How easy is it to like download some of the different graphs and some of the different visualizations that you all have? And how would you recommend folks go about doing that?
So because this is a property of Old Colony Planning Council, I think that is a good question that we have not have answered. The sweat equity that went into this with EDA funding, I think we want to somewhat protect that because of, the background work that went into it. So I think we need to come up with a format as to what end use will that be used for. Certainly our goal is to have this data dashboard be used for grants that we apply for as Old Colony Planning Council, as well as for the data that a community would apply for. So I would say for the very question, we would want to be able to make sure that we get back.
15% of our workforce.
Oh, go ahead. Is there a question?
No, we're just
Oh,
looking at the work, I'm sorry, we're just commenting on the Plymouth work from home number, how big that is.
We were nerding out over
We're
that.
yeah, you can't put stats in front of me without me geeking out.
So we have the right nerds of planning nerds on this call, but I think that is a exactly what we want to be able to do. As Dawn said, it's beta testing. So we've had like the town of Bridgewater said, geez, those numbers are a little bit, weird. And so the two gentlemen across the way from me, Dawn and Nick, will be reaching out to each of the 17 communities to run through these numbers to make sure that where we pulled, and if there seems to be any skewed, either higher or lower. And then again, that's what we're going to be
So
doing.
just to add to that, so that Tableau format is a little funky sometimes. It doesn't really, sometimes it doesn't work. So you have to go in there and massage it and relative to the application itself. And if we have those kind of glitches, we will have GIS staff person, Andrew, will take a look at that and make any adjustments to those numbers and under the data and the sub data sets that are available up on the site.
But good question. Thank you, Yolanda. I
And
know we. Go ahead.
Mary, I was going to say, we should add that, when we say that this is OCPC data, we also have Nick and Don working with a lot of communities to put in the EDA grants with the community. So there is some support there for our 17 communities who are part of the OCPC, the general OCPC work. So, hopefully the OCPC will be working with the communities collaboratively to make sure that we also have Paul Umano helping on grants in general. So these are resources that you can tag back into if you can't get the data yourself, or you can't pull it down off the site.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I think the more feedback we receive on this, the better this tool will be. I think that's kind of the idea. We have some refining to do, I think, but I think that the more that we're able to sort of coordinate and collaborate with communities on getting, the correct info or the info they want, I think that the more valuable this tool will be.
And lastly, on just the note of downloading or sharing of the data, I think that's an important question to be asked. We want to protect the work that went in there, so we would want to make sure OCPC. So we'll come up with a format when one puts a request in to receive or is interested in the data, and without having to be too strict, we want to be able to, we can do a screenshot and put it in, but we would like to just make sure OCPC and EDA is credited for the time and effort put into it. So, any other question?
All right. All right, so the main objectives of Red
Sorry, it just took me a while to get unmuted. On the pie charts that you have, how hard would it be to throw the percentages in there? So, because you'll have like I'm looking, for example, the economy and who's the unemployment rate in Plymouth. And it just gives you the raw numbers versus the raw number N, and there you go. On that one, for example, there's no percentage there. And again, you can figure it out fairly easily, but I don't know if the percentages could be added. That might be a nice piece to have.
Yeah, Lee, yeah, we could talk to Andrew about,
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
we,
getting that.
I think we originally had that, so I don't know if it was just a glitch or something, but,
Because and for example, we were looking at the work from home number, and that one would be a really hard one under transportation to figure out what percentage is 22,000, because somehow I would have
Right.
to add up all the other pie charts. But the
Yeah.
percentage thing is something people can understand, so if that's possible, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll look into that. Yeah, good point.
And,
Absolutely.
and let me also just put, just because his name was mentioned several times, but Andrew Vidal, our GIS manager, he along with Megan and Elise, instrumental in the graphics and turning data into a visually explanation, and just to acknowledge their participation in this. So thank you.
all right. So, the main objectives of Red Hat. So Red Hat is really designed to provide sort of a streamlined, at-a-glance perspective, serving as a simplified version of the economic development assessment tool that we know created by Barry Bluestone at Northeastern University. Its primary objective is to assist municipalities in being able to evaluate their economic development capabilities and really help communities identify ways to leverage regional assets to drive growth and enhance resiliency. So additionally, Red Hat, we hope or we think can sort of guide decision makers on where to focus investments and explore new opportunities, ensuring a strategic approach to regional economic development. So I'll pop up this here. So this is what it looks like on our page. We have sort of an explanation about, how this all works, what its purpose is, what its intent is, and this kind of gives you a lay of the land. I won't jump ahead because I know I have some information in the next slide, but this is a master matrix here that just shows a comparison of all OCPC's communities in our district. So I'm going to cover a little bit about this in the next slide, but these are our categories that we know to be a good metric or measure for strong economic development for communities in our OCPC region. And if you go further down, so here you can get sort of an explanation. So here's highway access. That kind of gives you if you click each of these, you can get a general explanation of, what sort of relation or meaning or significance it has relative to economic development. And you can click through those to get sort of an understanding of, what value those categories have in terms of economic development. And then we have, our regional map and our regional transit network. So you can see transit routes and our highway system and that sort of thing. And in each of these, so on the master matrix, you can click each of these. And if you click one of these towns, we'll go to Plymouth, it'll take you to essentially what we call or refer to as a community report card. And so you have all of the categories here, and then our assessment of where the community has landed with respect to those categories, and then any details surrounding it that support whatever color code that they had received. And so, and part of the idea, if not the best piece about the tool, is that, based on this information, we've developed a list of recommendations, 3 recommendations that are sort of, again, I'll cover this in the next slide, but are sort of low-hanging fruit based on this information to conclude about what they can do to expand their capacity for economic development. And then, like one thing I missed here, this is a key that sort of provides an explanation for the color coding system. Green, strong; orange, fair; red, needs improvement or not available, not accessible. not gonna leave this open, but
Mm,
let me jump to
And
the
Nick, I
next
would
slide.
just add that some of
Yep.
these communities may make choices, right? That like sewer would add a type of capacity that they're just not interested in spending the money on that infrastructure to increase that type of capacity. But it's good to have the information regardless of what your decision is. So you see how you compare to the region, you see how you fit in, and you see what is how other people might view your community based on these
Mhm.
factors, and how
Mhm.
developers and companies who are looking to relocate might view your community.
Yeah, it's all optional. It's up to the community, what direction the community wants to go in. But these are the general types of tools and programs, incentives that are out there relative to a community, either in support or encouraging, economic development and to improve their local economy. So it's all up to the community.
Yep, and, let me get off that. So we're still on this for a second, so I think, to provide a little bit more detail about how, how this kind of works, Red Hat has, operates through that comprehensive master matrix with those categories, those different categories and headings along the matrix that you just saw, which reflect our interpretation of, essential economic development fundamentals tailored for the OCPC region. So utilizing that color coding system, we hope that Red Hat can provide sort of a high level snapshot of each municipality that highlights the presence of economic development tools commonly known to yield positive impact. So based on this overview, the tool offers targeted recommendations. So those 3 recommendations, presenting what more or less are considered low-hanging fruit opportunities that each community can consider implementing to enhance their economic development efforts. So perhaps those are things that were already the community was already fully or well aware of, but we're hoping that bringing it onto our screen in this model is helpful and gives an indication of where the community might like to direct some of its efforts in years to come. So that concludes sort of our walkthrough of the tools. I don't know if anyone else had any questions. I can go back and fiddle through it if there's a willingness. But that's sort of the tools in a nutshell. And if anyone has any questions, happy to answer them. If not, we can continue further discussion on it.
Like, I have one thing on that, on Red Hat, where the municipalities, when you scroll right, you can't see the municipalities anymore. From a development standpoint, like being able to kind of comparing everybody and not have to keep going back would be useful,
Yeah.
I think, on that. Just because then by the time you scroll over, I'm like, wait, what line was I on? And if, like, as a business owner, like if you're comparing apples to apples, it's great to be able to see all of that at the same time. So if they could freeze that panel, so when you scroll over, that stays there, so you can still continue to compare the community.
Yeah, that's sort of like that Excel feature, right? That's a good idea.
Yeah. Because I lose, where Pembroke, for example, third of the way up, by the time I get to the other side, I'm like, where are we?
Yep.
yeah,
There's a Excel expert right there.
Yeah, you need a rule or something. I can't do that. Yeah, we'll look into that. Yeah.
How about,
Right.
or Stephen or Lee or Yolanda or Becky?
I'm just sort of amazed at the amount of data that's been
Mhm.
pulled together in one central location that allows us to look at the region so quickly, and to look at each town so quickly. So I'm looking forward to sort of rolling this out and sharing it with people in town, in my network, in the business community. Really looking forward to that.
Yep, and that really is the intent, right? Covering all of those levels. Certainly some communities would like to just maintain what small town that they have, and that's what their direction is. But it really is important that we're gonna continue to work with each community and look individually as we move forward. The other regional planning agencies do have something similar. But this has taken, Merrimack Valley and Cape Cod Commission have data dashboards. But this has taken it to a whole nother level. Certainly, Deb Bevan, the regional administrator, is going to be using this as a model for other regional planning agencies across the country. And again, the kudos to not only the gentleman across the way from me, but Megan and Elise and Andrew and a whole bunch of other staff members that have been. Lori Muncy was very important, with updating data. Again, it takes a team, and Old Colony Planning Council's team is ready to assist our communities as we always have. But I would just like to hear if there's any other elements of this that you as a practitioners in the field, that before we get to those other communities, to see if there's any other comments you might have.
Hey, Mary. First off, everyone over at OCPC, phenomenal job. I really lean on data to help kind of build the narrative, especially with our partners at EDA. If it's not data driven, then it may as well not exist, right? What you did here is really phenomenal in aggregating all of this. One thing I would request is as we add new data or update the data, that we have access to the historic data, so it's not a clean wipe with a new report card and things like that. Seeing where we came from will be really important, because I intend to use this machine. I intend to use this platform quite a bit.
Yeah, that's great. That's great input, Stephen.
Yeah, I've given some thought to how often, obviously it'd be, if we had someone working every day to check all the data and update it, that'd be great. But yeah, I've given some thought to how often we would try to maintain some of this stuff, but that's well noted. If we are updating things, we'll try to figure out a way to store that information and have it live somewhere before it just disappears.
Yeah. Go ahead, Stephen.
So I was going to say, I'm hearing words like how often and if we update. Is there not a plan to keep this as up to date with the community survey or the census, or will this be kind of like a static?
Yeah, no, it's at the very least it will be updated with the census. You can bet on that. I think I'm trying to figure out our capacity to update this more frequently. But if we find out if we're communicating or coordinating with our communities frequently that have this information, it's easy enough of a task, I think, to have this information changed on the website pretty quickly.
Yeah, so not only to maintain it, we have to maintain it based on, our agreement with EDA, and we have to maintain it anyways because of our work with our municipalities. It would be a disservice for us not to do that. But we're also going to be looking at expanding it. So those data sets are going to be expanded to include other data sets and other subsets. So, that could be doubled in size. But at this point, we're still trying to figure that out. But funding plays a big role in that. So we'll continue to look at that.
But it's a fair question. So, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was going to jump in, Mary, and say, even if you need to lean on the users, count me. If we come into new data and we see that it's some archaic stuff on our website under our information, if it would be helpful to you, I'd be very glad to send information over to you with the cited source, so it's real.
That is exactly how we look to have this be the maintenance plan, if you will. From my end, looking at staff and what they have on their plate, right? Because this is great, and there's always other things that we want to do in the communities. And then it's finding the staff with the capacity to continue to maintain it. So for right now, the immediate is both with Dawn and with Nick. We will also have, through lots of different sources, whether it's Lori Muncy from Comprehensive Planning or whether it's Andrew Vidal from the GIS, those are additional data points that we have coming in. But yes, I think that immediate communication, as you said, with the end users is, and we have some great relationships, and others we need to develop, because many of the communities do not have a planner, do not have an economic development person, and it's the town manager being all hats. So we're looking at the capacity for everyone and working with each one in whatever way it is. So
Yeah, and I
So-
think to reiterate real quickly, I think,
Mute for a quick second.
Go ahead.
go ahead, jump in.
Can you mute for 1 second?
Yeah, just so you know, I was trying to look at the beautiful map you had and I can't download it, so. And then I'm looking, it's our firewall is not allowing that image. So again, that's on us, not on you, but if people start saying they can't see the map or anything, I'm not sure whether it's Microsoft or somebody's looking at your images and they don't like them.
That's helpful.
Okay.
Okay.
Then again,
Right.
I can talk to IT if I needed to unblock it, but if several people say that, and I don't know how
Right.
you adjust
Okay.
that, but just be aware.
Nope, that's
Thanks.
helpful. Thanks, Lee.
Yeah, and I guess I was just going to add that, reiterating what I mentioned about the community data portal. Yeah, I think the value in this is that it's updated, in real time and that it has information that's actually useful for everyone. So this, I think, gets us so what we're sharing with you today is a baseline of where we're starting from. And I think we can refine this more. There's no doubt from here, but I think we're at a baseline now, and the idea is to develop it over time, so that it's more aligned and more consistent with each of these categories and the information that's out there in each community. So the more we hear back, I think the better purpose it will serve.
And the purpose of today's webinar, this was a recording, we'll be able to put it into a YouTube video for folks to look at it. If it's 11 o'clock at night and not wait for the morning, they can kind of look through this conversation that actually happened today. And then if there's additional, they'll know who to contact. So to the panel, to Lee and to Stephen, along with Becky and Yolando and Alicia, thank you. You're the volunteer board for us. We are the staff and we get paid for what we do. But your leadership and your guide as we supporting growing this economic development department has, I think, been a great resource for the region, and I can only see it growing. So I don't know if there's any other last words from folks before we sign off, but thank you.
Mary, I want to say you and your team are the partners I've been waiting for my entire career. Thank you.
We appreciate that. We know that the bar gets set, but we don't rest our laurels on that bar. We keep continuing and want to keep raising that bar. But thank you, and we look forward to having this be out there and working with all of you.
Absolutely.
Thank you to everyone.
Thanks, folks.